Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today, we're all about learning English independently.
Awesome.
We're going to be checking out a really cool YouTube episode from this podcast called Podcast and Chill.
Okay.
The hosts, Leo and Gwen, they share a ton of tips from their own experiences learning languages.
All
So if you're ready to kind of, unlock those secrets to learning English on your own, stick with us.
Sounds good.
So one of the first things that really jumped out at me was how much Leo and Gwen emphasize setting goals.
Right. Smart goals,
Yeah.
specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
It's so easy to just say, oh, I want to be fluent.
Hmm.
But how do you get there?
Yeah, exactly.
Those SMART goals, they help you break it down, right?
Yeah, for sure. So like having a roadmap, you
Yeah.
figure out what fluency actually means for you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you set these smaller goals,
Right.
and suddenly those big long-term goals, they don't seem so scary anymore.
Yeah. Totally. Like when I was learning Spanish, oh my gosh, I wanted to read a whole novel in Spanish.
Wow.
It felt impossible.
Yeah.
But then I broke it down into chapters,
Okay.
then just pages even. And it totally changed my perspective.
It's those small wins that make a huge difference, don't they? It's so motivating.
Absolutely.
And the cool thing is, Leo and Gwen, they don't just talk about goals, they give you all these resources too.
Yes. They're all about free resources. Like Duolingo. I mean, Duolingo was a game changer for me.
Oh, totally. And it's so smart how it uses that gamification thing, right? You get points, you unlock levels. It makes it fun,
Yeah.
It doesn't even feel like you're studying.
And they also recommend BBC Learning English
Yes. A classic.
and Memrise.
Both amazing.
I mean, the BBC Learning English website and app, they've got everything.
I know.
Audio lessons, video lessons, tons of grammar explanations, and news articles that are made for English learners.
Plus, their pronunciation section is amazing.
Right.
Oh, and they have great YouTube recommendations too.
Yeah, that's right.
English Addict, English Speaking Course, Learn English with Jessica,
And of course, their own podcast.
Learn English Podcast.
They've curated this incredible collection of resources. But okay, you've got all these resources, now what?
Yeah, it can get overwhelming, right?
That's when Leo and Gwen's advice on consistency comes in. It's all about finding a steady rhythm that works for you,
And sticking to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the key.
And they're not saying you have to study for hours every day.
Mhm.
Even just 15 to 30 minutes. That can make a huge difference.
Yeah, especially if you're busy, right?
Exactly.
Most of our listeners are probably juggling a lot of things.
So true.
Yeah.
It's about finding those little pockets of time, like during your commute,
Right, or during your lunch break.
even while you're waiting in line.
Totally. It's that little and often approach that really works.
It's like instead of, oh, I need to study for 2 hours, it's, okay, I'm going to listen to an English podcast while I walk the dog.
I love that.
You're already doing it. You're just adding in a little bit of English.
It's about making it part of your life,
Mhm.
not just this separate thing you have to do.
Okay, so then there's the whole speaking practice challenge.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Especially if you're learning on your own.
Right. How do you find opportunities to actually speak?
Well, Leo and Gwen have some, I'll be honest, some kind of funny suggestions.
Oh, like what?
Okay, are you ready for this?
Yeah.
They say, talk to yourself
Mm-hmm.
in English.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? Like pretend you're giving a presentation about your day or describe what you're cooking.
Okay.
I know it sounds a little crazy.
I mean, a little bit, yeah. But you know what?
Yeah.
It makes sense. It helps you get comfortable with the sounds, the rhythm of English, all that.
And the best part is you don't have to worry about being perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just you and your inner English coach.
I used to do this when I was learning Spanish.
Really?
Super awkward at first, but it got easier.
I bet.
And they also suggest recording yourself, too,
Oh, that's a good one.
because then you could hear how you actually sound, not just how you think you sound.
Yeah, that can be eye-opening.
Sometimes a little painful, but yeah.
But you can catch those pronunciation errors, right? Or places where you could be more fluent.
And then we get to this idea of immersion.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one for Leo and Gwen.
They're all about surrounding yourself with English,
Hmm.
even when you're not studying.
It's about making it part of your life.
Exactly.
Hey, like movies, music, books, online communities.
Yeah, like building this English-speaking bubble around yourself.
Think about how kids learn their first language, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're constantly exposed to it.
Yeah.
Immersion, for us as adults, it's about recreating that. So we're just absorbing the language naturally.
I've been watching this British comedy show called Ghosts.
Oh, I've heard of that.
It's hilarious. And my British slang has definitely improved.
See? That's the best part. You're learning, but you're having fun too.
Okay, ready for a blast from the past. Remember flashcards?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, Leo and Gwen introduce us to these apps, Anki and Quizlet, like flashcards on steroids.
Wow, flashcards 2.0.
They use this thing called spaced repetition.
Oh, right, I've heard of that. So it basically shows you flashcards right before you're about to forget the words.
Exactly. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's like it's helping you remember things better over time.
Technology is amazing.
It really is.
But it's not all about just cramming vocabulary, right?
Right.
Leo and Gwen are also big on tracking your progress.
Oh, yeah. That's so important for staying motivated.
They suggest keeping a study journal.
Okay, so you can reflect on your learning
Mm-hmm.
and use apps that track your progress, give you those visual stats.
Because seeing that progress can be so motivating.
Rightly. It's like, wow, I'm actually making progress.
I remember when I started learning Spanish, I kept this little notebook.
Oh, really?
Every new word I learned went in there. And flipping through it, seeing all those words, it felt amazing.
Like tangible proof of your progress.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's those little things, you know?
They really do make a difference.
They really do.
It's cool how they tie that into celebrating your wins too, you know?
Oh, yeah. They're all about recognizing those wins, like, no matter how small they are, right? It's not just about the end goal, you know?
Mhm.
It's about, like, enjoying the journey and, like, acknowledging every step you take.
Yeah, I love that. It's like giving yourself little pats on the back along the way, right?
Yeah,
Which can be so motivating.
exactly. And, you know, it's fascinating how they connect celebrating wins to, like, the bigger concept of motivation.
Yeah.
They really stress how important it is to keep yourself excited about learning English, you know?
Right. They talk about setting those milestones, rewarding yourself when you reach them. It's like those little incentives to keep pushing forward.
It's a clever strategy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of taps into that human thing where we love rewards. Like if we know there's something good waiting for us, you know, at the end of a challenge, we're more likely to stick with it.
Totally. Like training for a marathon.
Oh, yeah.
You might not want to go for a run every day,
Right.
but knowing that you get to enjoy a delicious meal or buy yourself some new running shoes after hitting a certain mileage,
Uh-huh.
that can be a huge motivator.
That's such a great analogy.
And just like with marathon training, consistency is key for learning English too.
Yeah, for sure. Leo and Gwen talk about that a lot, like making English part of your daily routine.
Yeah, finding a time that works best for you and just sticking to it.
Right. Even if it's just for a short period each day.
They're all about those small, consistent efforts.
Exactly. It's not about cramming everything in at once. It's
Mhm.
more about building that habit, you know,
Right.
making English a natural part of your life.
And I think that's so important for our listener because
Yeah.
it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the thought of like learning a whole new language.
Right.
But Leo and Gwen remind us that it's not about becoming fluent overnight.
Totally. It's about taking those small, steady steps, you know,
Yeah,
in the right direction.
exactly. And that's where that whole idea of immersion comes in.
Oh, yeah, immersion. Big fans of immersion.
Huge advocates of it,
Yeah, surround yourself with English as much as possible.
even outside of your dedicated study time, right?
Exactly. Like watching movies and TV shows in English,
Mm-hmm.
listening to English music, reading English books and articles.
Joining online English-speaking communities.
Yeah, create that environment where you're constantly exposed to the language.
Like you're immersing yourself in an English-speaking world.
Exactly. And the more you immerse yourself, the more natural it'll start to feel.
Mm-hmm.
You'll start picking up on those nuances, those idioms, cultural references, things you wouldn't necessarily learn from a textbook.
I think as you become more comfortable with the language, your confidence will grow too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You'll be more willing to speak up, practice your skills, engage with others in English. It becomes this like amazing cycle of learning and growth.
It really is. And, you know, it's so interesting how Leo and Gwen connect immersion back to the way kids learn their first language.
Yeah.
They point out that children aren't like explicitly taught grammar rules or
No.
given vocabulary lists. They learn by listening, observing, and imitating.
In an environment where they're constantly surrounded by the language.
Exactly. Hearing it spoken by their parents, caregivers, peers, seeing it written in books, on signs, on TV.
It's such a natural, organic process.
It really is.
And we may not be able to like completely replicate that environment as adult learners.
Right.
We can certainly create our own immersive experiences.
Totally.
Yeah.
We can choose to watch English language movies and shows, listen to English music, read English books. We can seek out online communities, language exchange partners.
We can even just make a conscious effort to incorporate English into our daily lives, like reading English news articles, listening to English podcasts,
Yes.
or even just trying to think in English.
Exactly. The more we expose ourselves to the language, the more it'll become a part of us. And the more we use it, the more confident and fluent we'll become.
I think that's such an inspiring message for our listener.
It is.
Learning English doesn't have to be a chore. It could be this exciting adventure
Yeah.
full of discovery, growth, and connection.
And it's a journey that anyone can embark on, regardless of their age, background, prior experience. All it takes is a willingness to learn, a commitment to consistency, and a belief in yourself.
And don't forget to celebrate those wins along the way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory worth acknowledging.
For sure. So keep learning, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself. And remember, the world is full of opportunities waiting to be unlocked with the power of English.
Speaking of opportunities, Leo and Gwen share some fantastic tips for practicing speaking English.
Oh, yeah? Especially if you don't have a native speaker to talk to?
Exactly, like talking to yourself in English, recording yourself speaking, and then listening back to identify areas for improvement, and using language exchange apps to connect with other learners.
I'll admit the talking to yourself in English thing still makes me chuckle a little bit.
Yeah, it sounds a little weird.
But I get it. It's a great way to get comfortable with the sounds and rhythms of the language. And there's absolutely no pressure to be perfect.
It's like giving yourself a private English lesson.
Exactly.
Where you can practice pronunciation work on fluency experiment with different vocabulary and grammar structures without any fear of judgment.
And recording yourself speaking, while it can be a bit cringeworthy at first, is another fantastic way to identify areas for improvement.
Oh, for sure. It allows you to hear yourself objectively and notice those patterns or habits that you might not be aware of otherwise.
It's true. I remember when I first started recording myself speaking French, I was horrified by how many mistakes I was making.
It's tough to listen back sometimes.
But that's the beauty of it. You can't improve what you don't know you're doing wrong.
Exactly. Recording yourself gives you that opportunity to pinpoint those areas and work on them.
And the more you practice, the more confident and fluent you'll become. You'll start to notice you're making fewer mistakes, your pronunciation is improving, and you're able to express yourself more naturally. It's such a gradual process, but incredibly rewarding.
It is. And what about those language exchange apps? I think that's such a brilliant way to get real-life speaking practice with people from all over the world.
It is. You can chat about your interests, share your experiences, and help each other improve your language skills. And it's not just about the speaking practice. It's about building connections, fostering cultural exchange, and even making friends who share your passion for learning English.
I love that. It highlights that beautiful aspect of language learning, that it opens up doors to new cultures, perspectives, and friendships. You're able to connect with people from all walks of life and broaden your horizons in ways you never thought possible.
It's a truly enriching experience, and it reminds us that learning English isn't just about acquiring a skill. It's about expanding your world, connecting with others, and embracing new possibilities.
And that brings us to another important point, that Leo and Gwen make the importance of having fun.
Oh yeah, they're adamant about that.
Yes, learning English shouldn't feel like a chore.
It should be an enjoyable and engaging experience.
Exactly. They encourage finding ways to make learning fun, whether it's by watching funny English language movies, listening to upbeat English music, playing English language games. It's all about incorporating those activities you genuinely enjoy into your learning routine.
I think that's so crucial because when we're having fun, we're more likely to stay motivated and engaged.
Totally.
We're more likely to stick with it and actually make progress.
And let's not forget that when we're enjoying ourselves, we're more likely to remember what we've learned. So it's a win-win. Don't be afraid to experiment, try new things, and find what works best for you, what brings you joy while you're learning.
Absolutely. Learning English should be a joyful journey, not a stressful one. Embrace the process, have fun, and remember to celebrate those wins along the way.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are so many resources available to support you, including online communities, language exchange partners, and of course, podcasts like ours.
We're here to provide you with tips, insights, and inspiration to help you achieve your English learning goals.
So keep listening, keep learning, and keep believing in yourself. The power of English is within your reach.
They really pack a punch in that episode, don't they? It's like a mini course.
Yeah.
But like you said, so fun.
And it's refreshing how upfront they are about the work involved, Learning a language, it takes effort, but they make it feel possible, not this impossible dream.
It's inspiring for sure. And what I appreciate is that they don't just throw a bunch of random tips at you. They actually connect everything, like Setting goals, finding the right resources, staying consistent, practicing, immersing yourself, all of it. And it creates this like roadmap.
Yeah, it's a whole picture, not just pieces. And they never forget about the individual learner, you know? They keep asking, what works for you? What are your goals? Like, it's your journey.
Which is so important because it can feel so overwhelming otherwise,
Yeah.
right? Like you have to do it this one right way.
Exactly. No, it's about finding what works for you and enjoying the ride.
So as we wrap things up here, think about what stood out to you from Leo and Gwen's advice. What really clicked? What are you excited to try out?
We want to hear from you. Share your thoughts, your big aha moments, even the things you're struggling with.
Let's keep this conversation going.
Connect with us in the comments, on social media, wherever you like to hang out.
Learning English is an adventure, and it's way more fun when we do it together, right? So until next time, keep learning, keep practicing, and keep believing in yourself. You've got this.
We'll see you in our next deep dive.